Nepal, Bangladesh and Laos have issued a joint press release committing the respective governments' pledge to the transformation from the least developed countries to the developing countries as the 5-day 5th UN Conference on Least Developed Countries kicked off today in Doha, Qatar. The three countries have said that they have seriously taken up the challenge of the transformation, adding that issues like geopolitics, economic recession and the pandemic will continue to pose stumbling block to their aspirations of being upgraded to a developing nation. Good evening, I'm Abhyuday Shrestha and these are the headlines of the hour. Maoist camp rippled as the Supreme Court orders the registration of the writ against Prime Minister Pushpakamal Dahal for his public remarks made 3 years ago, vows to stand united. Implementation of fiscal federalism in a limbo in the absence of laws for the past 5 years, the Fiscal Commission fails to garner consensus. Province and local levels helpless in front of the center. Least developed countries in a race against time to meet the sustainable goals by 2030. Deputy Prime Minister stresses on challenges, calling on the global support. And Jawlatil stunned defending champions Machindra 3-1. Sadhabato kick off their A-Division League campaign with a 2-1 win over NRT. Army and Sankata play a goalless draw. The Maoist camp has been rippled after the Supreme Court directed the court administration to register the writ against Prime Minister Pushpakamal Dahal over his remarks made about 3 years ago. Leaders Dahal, along with his then compatriots Netrabikram Chand and Baburam Bhattrai, came together in a show of strength as they threatened to thwart any action towards them. Speaking at a mass assembly in the capital's Khula Manch today, 3 years ago on Maghi Day, leader Pushpakamal Dahal had remarked that he would take the responsibility for the killing of 5,000 people out of a total of 17,000 killed during the insurgency era. A writ against the remarks was filed at the Supreme Court last November. The writ has even demanded the arrest of Maoist chair Pushpakamal Dahal. With the Supreme Court decision paving way for the writ to be registered, the Maoist camp has been rippled. At a program in the capital today, Prime Minister Dahal shared the forum with his former compatriots Baburam Bhattrai and Netrabikram Chand. Prime Minister Dahal, addressing the function, expressed his grievances, saying that efforts are underway to, what he said, corner him at national and international level. Meanwhile, CPN Maoist Center, who are leading the government, has issued a press release objecting to the Supreme Court verdict. Citing that efforts are underway to dig up insurgency-era cases, the Maoist leaders urged the party cadres to unite together. Even as the Maoist leaders had waged the armed movement together, they had parted ways during the various stages of the peace process. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court decision has brought them under one forum. The parties in the ruling government have agreed to table the bill on transitional justice at the Parliament. A meeting of the 9 parties called by Prime Minister Pushpakamal Dahal at his official residence in Balwatar struck a 2-point agreement. As per the agreement, a decision has been reached to provide justice to the victims of the insurgency era through court verdicts. The meeting at Balwatar was attended by the top-notch leaders of Nepali Congress, CPN Maoist Center, CPN Unified Socialist, Nepal Samajwadi, Janmat and Janamorcha. As required laws have not been formulated even after 5 years of federalism being implemented, there has been challenges in the implementation of fiscal federalism, which is the financial relations between units of governments in a federal government system. The main aim of federalism is to appropriately utilize local resources for economic development. After embarking into federalism, the law should make clear the distribution of common authority, revenue collection, and natural resources among the 3 tiers of the government. However, a law regarding the distribution of authority among the federal, provincial, and local level has not been formulated even after the lapse of 5 years. The federal government has formulated an Act on Natural Resources and Fiscal Commission, Financial Work Procedure and Financial Obligation, and Intergovernment Finance Management. However, due to unified law on common authority, distribution of natural resources, authority for province to collect loans, revenue of the 3 tiers of the government, among others, not being formulated, there is no coordination between the local levels and provinces. As the Federal Civil Service Act has not been formulated, acts that have been already formulated are facing problems in their implementation. Many laws have not been formulated, and those that have been formulated have not been implemented. The Act on Agricultural Revenue that was formed in Bagmati Province last year has not been implemented due to the lack of entity to implement it. After the current law found it challenging to implement fiscal federalism, the Fiscal Commission had initiated efforts 3 years ago to form an umbrella act. However, the Commission has not been able to come up with a policy-level agreement. It's time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
But before that, let's take a look at the results from yesterday's poll. Yesterday, we had asked you, why have parties interpreted the policy in their own respective ways? 26% voted for A, feeble understanding, 52% voted for B, political interest, and 22% voted for C, geopolitical impact. And here's today's question. Why has peace process not reached a logical conclusion for 16 years? Your options are A, lack of irresponsibility, B, power-centric attitude, and C, a serious issue. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B, or C, and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Nepal, Bangladesh, and Laos issued a joint statement committing the respective governments' pledge to the transformation from the least developed nations to the developing countries as the 5th LDC conference kicked off in Doha, Qatar today. In the joint statement, the 3 countries mentioned their common commitment to sustainable and inclusive national development despite the challenging circumstances. We have a report.
All eyes are at the moment on Doha, Qatar, as delegates from 46 least developed nations and representatives from developed countries like Germany, Canada and Turkey, to name a few, have gathered. Attending the 5th conference, one that takes place once every 10 years, between 5th to 10th of March this year, LDCs will highlight on the issues they have faced as they race against time to meet the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. Speaking at a session, the Deputy Prime Minister of Nepal stated that the existing structural impediments, the COVID pandemic and geopolitical tensions have impeded development efforts of the country, calling on the global community and development partners for mutual accountability.
And so many malaise of underdevelopment in collaboration with development partners, including UN agencies. Some progress has been made in the last 50 years. Yet the LDCs are still the poorest and weakest segment of the global community. Only 6 countries have been graduated from the category so far. The pace of transformation is unacceptable. It is a common responsibility of the global community.
Nepal has qualified to become a developing nation by the end of 2026, having met 2 of the 3 criteria to graduate. But the pressing question is, are we ready to transition and whether there's a risk of sliding back? Nepal has a few key concerns facing it. Recovering from the socio-economic slump invited by the COVID pandemic, band-aiding the impacts of Russia-Ukraine war, and also dealing with the vulnerability it has to climate change, which it shares very little responsibility for. As it prepares to graduate in the year 2026 in the month of November, Nepal has a mammoth of a task to prepare and make sure that the graduation is irreversible. For Kantipur News, Sarah Sapsanama from Doha, Qatar.
In our Public Voice segment, today we have asked people in several provinces what their suggestion is to utilize the budget of the Prime Minister Employment Program. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
Public Voice.
असहायहरूलाई खोजी अब उहाँहरूलाई रोजगार दिँदा सदुपयोग हुन्छ
स्थानीय समस्याहरू पहिचान गर्न लाउने त्यसपछि स्थानीय स्तरमै रोजगारी दिने
विपन्न परिवारलाई मात्र दियो भने बजेटको सदुपयोग हुन्छ
लक्षित वर्गलाई चाहिँ आवश्यकता अनुसार चाहिँ बजेट बाँडफाँड हुन पर्यो
यसै देशमा काम लगाएर यसै देशमा बस्ने मौका दिने
आफ्नो
मान्छे नहेरेर पाउनुपर्ने मान्छे पाउनु पर्यो
त्यस्तो काम दिना नि अब गाउँघरको गरिब निमुखाहरू बेरोजगारहरूलाई सजिलो हुने हो
नातागोतालाई मात्र नहेरेर जसलाई रोजगारको आवश्यकता छ जो बेरोजगारी छ उसलाई दिनुपर्छ
2-4 दिनको लागि 100 दिनका लागि मात्रै हैन दीर्घकालीन चाहिँ उहाँहरूलाई चाहिँ रोजगारको व्यवस्थापन गर्नको लागि म समग्र नगर अथवा प्रदेश सरकार र केन्द्रीय सरकारलाई म निवेदन गर्न चाहन्छु।
It's time now for the sports news.
Sports news.
Jalakal Youth Club stunned defending champions Machindra in today's match under the A Division League football. Jalakal registered a stunning 3-1 win against the champions to kick off their own domestic top flight in style. In the match played at Dasrat Stadium today, Machindra opened the scoring in the 24th minute with a goal by Devendra Taman. Trailing by a goal, Jalakal put up a commendable performance in the second half with 3 goals. Jalakal Youth Club equalized in the 59th minute when Hisub scored off a pass from Fode Fofana. Koto Mosabi made it 2-1 for Jalakal Youth Club, while Simanta Thapa utilized a free kick by Hisub to seal the 3-1 victory. South Dabata Youth Club have kicked off their A Division League campaign with a 2-1 win over NRT. Deepak Singh Thakuri turned hero for South Dabato in the match today. In the match played at Lalitpur's Chasel ground, Deepak put South Dabato ahead in the 45th minute. NRT's foreign recruit Nicholas equalized in the first half injury time to bring the match on level terms. In the 84th minute of the match, Deepak produced the decisive goal to clinch full points for his team. It may be recalled that South Dabato were promoted to domestic top flight 2 years ago, while they had finished at an impressive 4th place last season, earning them the title of Giant Killers. NRT had finished 3rd last season. Meanwhile, in yet another match, Nepal Army and Sankata played a 1-1 draw today. Team Nepal's opening batsman Kushal Bhurtel is going to miss the crucial tie against UAE at the ICC World Cricket League 2 series due to a groin injury. Kushal Bhurtel will be replaced by Sandeep Johra in the squad. Johra had travelled with the team, although he was not included in the squad of 14 players. Kushal Bhurtel's performance in the UAE series has been average. Bhurtel was in top form in the home pitches, while in the UAE, he scored a half-century against Papua New Guinea in the first match of the series. In the second match against PNG, he was bowled out off the very first delivery of the match, while he only scored 5 runs against UAE. Team Nepal will wrap up the UAE tour with the second match against the hosts of the series. Nepal will then host UAE and PNG for 4 matches. Asif Sheikh is likely to open the innings alongside Gyanendra Malla in the match tomorrow. Papua New Guinea defeated host UAE by 5 wickets in today's match under the ICC World Cricket League 2 series. In the match played at the Dubai International Stadium today, PNG elected to field first after winning the toss. UAE batsmen had a disastrous day as their innings lasted 26.2 overs, where UAE produced a meager total of 97 runs. Vitria Arvind's 26 runs proved the top score for a UAE. 7 of their batters failed to touch the double-digit score. Raleigh Hukure was the destroyer-in-chief with 5 wickets. He returned with figures of 5 for 13 runs off 4.2 overs. In reply, PNG also were made to work hard for runs as they lost 5 wickets. They lost wickets at regular intervals, while Tony Ura held the innings together with an unbeaten 35. With the defeat, UAE lost the opportunity of closing gap against 4th-placed USA. UAE now needs to win the remaining 5 matches to ensure top 3 finish. Meanwhile, Nepal are taking on UAE in the match tomorrow. A win tomorrow will make Nepal climb to the 5th position in the League 2. And it's time now for the weather update. That's all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Good night.